There are many types of unusual people on the internet. Arguably, everybody is unusual to some degree, but there are those who go beyond any expectations you may have. Typically, these people excel at not excelling. Usually, these people are hyperfixated on an idea of some sort, like a certain electric hedgehog or a faith-powered operating system. While many of these individuals, despite their shortcomings, have some traits that are actually commendable, you do have the few that really hit lower than once thought possible. The kind of bizarre individuals that leave a bad taste in your mouth. Joshua Saunders is one of those lucky few. Josh, better known by his online handle KingCobraJFS or Cobes, is a heavily documented lolcow with a vast history. While his life may not be as exciting as some of the other eccentric people out there, and quite frankly, I would argue that Josh is pretty boring most of the time, but he certainly has this, I don't know what you would call it, an aura. Joshua Saunders entered our world on March 26, 1991 in Casper, Wyoming, to Clint and Laura Saunders. He was initially incubated due to underdeveloped lungs and NRDS, newborn respiratory distress syndrome. There is some speculation that his mother was drinking or abusing substances while he was residing in her womb. However, I haven't seen any confirmation from Josh or Clint. Shortly after Josh spawned forth from his mother's decrepit crevice, Clint and Laura fought over the custody of our soon-to-be gothic bad boy. Perhaps the one time anyone would ever fight to have Josh in their life. According to Clint, Laura was allegedly abusive and psychotic. Inevitably, Cobes would fall into his father's hands, though Laura most likely had contact with Josh after this point. Starting from around 1992 to 93, Josh would begin to frequently move around the country. From Miles City to South Lake Tahoe to Valley City and back again to Casper, the primordial ooze that brought him forth to begin with. This armpit would be where he graduated in 2010 from Natrona County High School. According to Clint, Josh was ridiculed frequently in school, though I can't imagine why. Envy, perhaps? This likely stemmed from the latent closeted homosexuality of his bullies, because why else would they do this to him? A straight white cisgendered male.
When you haven't had a girlfriend in almost 2 years, and then you got society fucking shoving it in your face every chance they get, it's fucking irritating.
His other interactions in school include harassing girls, or maybe they just couldn't handle him. What did he say again?
You know, and I feel like a girl asked for doing it, and she wasn't the only girl I stalked and sexually harassed. I regret each and every one of them, you know. That certainly didn't help my case, being as I do dress the way I do, and you know, she's probably a bit creeped out, so I don't blame her for feeling the way she did. Perfectly understandable, considering, you know, I was this creepy goth kid with Asperger's stalking this amazingly hot chick, you know, but yeah, I wish I could change it. I wish I could go back and wish I never would have fallen in love with her, you know?
Ah, yeah, that's right. Despite efforts by his haters to the contrary, Josh lived long enough to reach the age of 18, wherein he would immediately start smoking cigarettes despite his previously mentioned respiratory issues. And he got a Super S tattoo for some pseudo-religion bullshit. Realizing this was an incredibly intelligent decision, Josh started drinking the day he turned 21, accelerating towards alcoholism. Toobs.
Whoa! Fucking Asperger's.
Josh would first appear online as Gothic KingCobraJFS in late 2011. His channel primarily consisted of wretched vocal covers, garbage guitar tutorials, skits with his proto-sex doll, his dummy Sean, and vlog-style content where he routinely rambled about current events, stories from school, religion, and the burdens of being the hottest goth in Casper. At this point, Josh was living with his father and occasionally worked at Box Elder Job Corps. He also briefly worked at a pizza restaurant and a Burger King, though he shared very few details about both of these professions. Regardless, the most important thing Josh got out of Job Corps was his first girlfriend, Stephanie. They had their first date at Job Corps SAC, on which Josh lost his virginity to her in the bathroom. How romantic. To top it all off, Josh claims he recorded the steamy event on his iPod, but he since lost the video. Thank Christ. But things wouldn't be on the upswing for long, because in 2012, Josh got caught smoking pot on campus. Upon returning to Casper, Clint forced Josh to get a haircut. This definitely didn't do him any favors, and he had to hand over the cords to his video games. How terrible. This would push Josh to want to leave his father's safe, hairy arms. Problem is, in order to afford a place, he was going to need a job. What the fuck could possibly go wrong? I'm gonna regret asking that question, aren't I? Somehow, by the grace of God, Josh bumbled his way into a cheap, albeit shithole living situation. Poorly painted walls, exposed plumbing, a truly squalid hovel. $500 a month for a few rooms and a toilet to shit in. If he was going to afford this, he was going to have to land some kind of high-paying job, something that would truly test his skills and capabilities. Cleaning up piss puddles on the floor of a Wendy's bathroom should just about do that. He claims to have been a hard worker that always arrived on time, but unfortunately he'd share stories and excuses as to why he showed up an hour late to work today, and then tomorrow, and then after that. This is mostly due to him either oversleeping due to misunderstandings with his scheduling, or him missing the bus entirely, though I'm not sure how he could have missed the bus when he has literally nothing else to do with his time. He also attempted to walk to work, but of course, the simple act of walking proved to be too overwhelming for him, causing him to bitch about it. Josh would also get home very late, usually around 3 a.m. if not later. He claims that this threw off his sleeping schedule and it made him irritable, which would definitely impact his work performance. This also explains his oversleeping and missing alarms, or he could just not give enough of a shit to get up and actually do his job. Could be either or, really. Not too long after he started scrubbing urinals at Wendy's, there was word of a possible white glove audit. Some suit from Wendy's corporate was going to lay the hammer down if the store didn't clean the dead rats from under the fryer. This of course concerned the gothic bad boy, leading him to contemplate applying at a local loaf and jug, which is a dumpy gas station in Casper, that was just down the road from his apartment. Ultimately, nothing came of this because someone else must have picked up the slack for Josh. Because of that, he'll definitely be able to keep paying his steep $500 a month rent. Unrelated, but there was a sword attack at that exact gas station. Don't believe me? Look it up for yourself. On December 1st, 2012, Josh addressed some of the criticism he received about his looks from his detractors, stating that I live on my own, therefore I can dress how I want. This prompted the trolls to point out that he's claiming SSI to pay for his living expenses. On December 5th, 2012, he received his first SSI check and went grocery shopping, which means he loaded up on Doritos, potted meat, eggs, pizza dough, generic meat seasoning, and of course booze. Can't forget the fucking liquor.
It almost reminds me of pizza Pringles, which are also really good. So, yeah, the Doritos Jacked, pretty awesome. I like them, they're good. I also bought some cherry Dr. Pepper and some cream soda. And there's nothing wrong with getting SSI. Nothing wrong with it whatsoever. Now, if you're abusing it, then you're a mooch, but I'm not. My SSI is for my rent if I ever need to pay it, and or for groceries.
But Clint is Josh's payee, which means that he is the one that gives Josh the money every month and ultimately has control over his finances. That'll be important later. While Josh pissed away tax dollars on junk food, he was starting to feel the pains of working long hours and a lack of sleep. To counteract this, he faced the classic don't sleep between shifts problem of working overnight. He'd spend his time off having fun and getting plastered while sleeping in bursts at work. It's always nice to see the carp-lipped janitor passed out in a puddle of piss in the restroom. Really enhances the whole dining experience. This hard work would net him about $700 working split shifts. This is most likely being supplemented by his SSI, since he only makes about $8.50 an hour. Of course, the SSI money was supposed to be for emergencies only. In Josh's defense though, sick drink combos are definitely worth it.
The Lester's Fixin' Soda Pop, I chugged the ranch one off camera and it still tastes like the ranch one, yes. However, my favorite flavor is definitely their bacon, which is not a sponsor, free advertisement. We're going to mix it with some Snowy Range Scottish Ale and see how it tastes. Now we're going to mix it into a glass with some beer. It's a pretty color too. Look at that coloration, man. That's pretty, isn't it? The aftertaste is just like bacon. Like, how the fuck they get it to taste just like bacon, we'll never know, right? It's a company secret. Well, I do declare that mixing Lester's Fixin's Bacon Soda Pop with the delicious 21 and up Snowy Range Scottish Ale from the Wyoming Brewing Company, known as Bond's Brewing Company, not to be confused with the Bond Tactical Soap, excuse me.
On December 18th, 2012, Josh let his good friend, known lovingly as Couch Chris, stay at his apartment for a little while. We'll get more into him in a bit. Anyway, Josh extended a helping hand to Chris after he was kicked out of his place and was sleeping in his van. Since Chris was his roommate, it would mean that Josh would no longer be eligible for SSI. Shortly after this, on December 26th, he received a notice from SSI that stated that he couldn't collect any more SSI bucks because he made too much working overtime at Wendy's. It's never stated if SSI cut him off because of Chris, or if his father just stopped forking over the cash. As of January 2nd, 2013, he's apparently making $1,400 a month. Because his rent and bills are much lower than yours, doesn't that fucking hurt? He was considering picking up a guitar. A Gibson SG from a local pawn shop called Mr. Money caught his eye at the low price of $400, or at least that's how he recalls it. Some time would pass before we'd get one of the most significant pieces of King Cobra media to date, the hair dye video. On March 3rd, Cobes uploaded a video of him showing him attempting to dye his own hair, only to find out that he's running late for work and will have to come in later to make up for his mistake. Will he be able to make his hair look good in time for his laborious shift? Let's find out.
Here's the case, so I got some hair dye. I'm gonna do that in a bit. Keep in mind these things are incredibly messy, so yeah. Just shake it up. Move that on. Hello? Oh, what are you saying? No, I was shopping. Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh my God. I'm out at the apartment. Son of a bitch. Wow. Well, I feel like an idiot. Alright, that works. I'm so sorry, I misunderstood the dates. Alright, bye-bye. Thursday, not Friday. I was supposed to come in at 11:30 to 7, but they said I could come in at 4, so that was a major mistake. I thought it was Friday, not Thursday. Fuck. But thankfully enough, Wendy's is very patient, very understanding, so they said I can come back and work at 4, so working into your hair. It's a lot cheaper and a lot better for your hair than doing it in the salon. I can guarantee you that. Oh yeah, I got it all over my fucking head. Here. And you can take time to do your eyebrows. My mustache. Yeah. Why so serious?
Fast forward to May 3rd. Clint calls Josh to tell him there's a tiny problem with Josh's spending habits. Turns out, Cobes has been tapping into his savings, which in all actuality was his SSI. As such, he needed to provide receipts to report back to the government. Obviously, this tax money was spent frivolously and the receipts weren't going to be available. There's really nothing quite like spending tax money on booze, because that is most definitely what's up. As time continued to inevitably move forward, Josh would continue to be late to his job and do it quite poorly when he was on the clock. His hours became shorter, his checks became smaller, and suddenly our Dark Lord was enduring the terrible task of budgeting. To give you an idea of how mismanaged his funds are, I'll read a list of groceries he got after receiving his smallest paycheck from Wendy's at that time. 2 loaves of bread, jam and peanut butter, 4 containers of wand tape, which is most likely either duct tape or electrical tape, ammunition for a sawed-off BB gun, 4 packs of Marlboro Red 100s, Twinkies, a can of green spray paint, self-rising flour, a bread tin, 2 cups of Ben & Jerry's peach cobbler ice cream. What a wonderful way to spend $300 after about 2 weeks of work. All the way to 2015, Cobes would continue to receive dwindling hours and lesser pay as he continued to slip up at work. At this point, it would appear that Josh really didn't give a shit about doing a good job at his place of work. In May of 2015, he started talking less and less about what was happening at his job. He apparently was flirting with customers, which to be honest, I don't think any woman would appreciate any advances from him. He also killed a baby bird with his rear bike tire because he thought it was gonna die anyways.
Oh, like the other day, there was this baby bird that had fallen out of the nest, and I picked it up, and I'm trying to find its nest. I couldn't find it. I tried feeding it, that didn't work either, and it was hopping around in a very busy parking lot. It was gonna get ran over anyway. So I did the humane thing and I put it out of its misery. I took my back bike tire and squished it. And I didn't want to do it, but I had to because, it was going to get ran over anyway. And, get it over with. And
I love seeing squished birds in the parking lots of places I'm about to dine in. Really makes me want the disgusting greasy slop that I'm going to be purchasing. By 2016, Josh very clearly is tired of working at Wendy's. His co-workers were supposedly bothering him by calling him stupid. The management also didn't seem to appreciate Josh slipping up and not learning from his mistakes. Wendy's corporate was receiving phone calls and emails from the trolls that were painting Josh in a bad light, suggesting that he smelled like shit and made people uncomfortable. Though I'd argue there's probably a lot of truth to those statements. But the cherry on top of the shit sundae was Josh's constant bitching about his co-workers and customers. This, understandably, is not an image that the Wendy's Corporation would want for their property. He also made the incredible mistake of mixing up the sweetened and unsweetened tea urns twice.
What's up, YouTube? Sitting here on my second beer. I got another one for after that. But today at work was pretty productive, you know. I got done on time. I was off the clock, grabbing a bite to eat, and then it happened. Now here's the thing. At Wendy's, when we make our tea, we have a machine in the back that makes it. And normally when we have sweet tea made, it's in the walk-in. And regular tea stays underneath the tea machine. Occasionally, when they run out of sweet tea, they use the tea machine to make the regular tea. So when they're done making the regular tea, they can pour the sugar and whatever else they need to make the sweet tea into it, so it makes sweet tea. Okay? I went to go fill the teas up in the lobby today at my job. Okay? I went into the lobby, checking the teas. They weren't like completely unfull. They were still pretty full, but they could have used topped off, right? So I go to top off my teas, and I walk into the walk-in for the sweet tea, and I use the tea underneath the tea machine for the regular tea. Lo and behold, nobody told me there was sweet tea underneath the tea machine, and then the regular tea was in the walk-in. And so because of that, I ended up putting sweet tea in the regular tea urn and unsweetened tea into the sweet tea urn. And you may think to yourself, that doesn't seem like a big deal. In actuality, it is, because if a diabetic customer comes in and they go to get some tea to drink, and if they were to accidentally sip on some sweetened tea, it could send them into a diabetic shock, and that's making Wendy's liable for a lawsuit. And believe me, I don't want to send customers into a diabetic shock. I sure as hell don't want to lose my job, and I sure as hell, okay, don't like mixing up the teas, okay? So right after I just got off the clock, right in front of customers too, both my managers sat there chewing my ass about it. And I didn't do it intentionally, okay? Had I known which tea was which, okay, I wouldn't have messed up. But here's the thing. Both tea containers that they use to prep the tea into look exactly the same. If you don't label them, it's kind of hard to tell. Now my solution to this problem from now on is every time I go to change the tea, I'm going to take a little cup with me. I'm going to scoop it into the tea jug that they use to prep the tea in. And I'm going to take a little bit out of the jug and take a sip of it. That way I know for sure which tea is which, because sometimes they don't always communicate with you on these things, and sometimes they don't label them.
All of this ultimately led to Josh getting fired from Wendy's. The troll behind this went by the name of Castle Zimmy, or some stupid shit like that. He was a big obese jackass who decided that Cobes is the worst person to ever exist, and subsequently A-logged him to the point of destroying himself. Cobes' fans, and presumably some of his sympathetic trolls, doxed this Zimmy guy. They found him via a domain name registration lookup for his personal website, even going as far as to contact his family and place of work for payback to what he did to the sexy gothic bad boy. This is also when he got the name of Fat Fuck from Kentucky. He followed up with a video titled I Pissed Off a Cult, where he bitched about all the people fucking with his personal life. Josh is jobless and vegetating at this point, yearning for a blow-up doll for him to slide his dick into. Clint, being the doting father that he is, encouraged his lazy-eyed son to get a job so he can afford to buy a blow-up doll. The best advice a father could give, truly. He'd eventually get a job at the Office Bar and Grill thanks to his friend Warlord Alex, but he quit in 2018. Not much is known about this either. But that's pretty much the whole Wendy's saga, at least the more important bits. But that guy we mentioned earlier, Couch Chris, he's actually pretty important to the Cobra story. He had his own saga that was running parallel to the Wendy's one, with its own events and stories. This is also one of the more significant tales from the Cobraverse. Back in 2011, Josh spoke a fair bit about one of his senior class peers from Natrona High. This friend, who would lovingly be dubbed the name Couch Chris by Josh's followers, would be a consistent point of contention in Cobes' life. Chris is a good guy who never freeloads off of anyone, ever, even if he's sleeping on someone else's sofa and eating their food. Chris would start appearing in Josh's content more frequently, much to the chagrin of his viewers.
Or certain videos. Check out his channel. Warlord771. He's got a couple cool videos. Shut up!
See, I told you.
Sometime in the fall of 2012, Chris asked Josh if he can live with him for a little bit as he tries to get back on his feet. You see, Chris was sleeping in his van at this time, and being quite the husky boy himself, he probably would have been more comfortable spreading out in someone's living room. Josh, being the infinitely intelligent and profound wizard that he is, accepts Chris's request and lets him sleep on his couch. This goes about as well as you would expect. At the time, and most likely to this very day, Chris was unemployed and searching for a job that best suits him. And by that, I mean he was playing Grand Theft Auto on Josh's PlayStation 3. This would be a staple of Chris's appearances, just sitting on the couch, playing video games, interjecting when he sees fit. Shit like that really makes a difference in a job search. Chris would routinely interject his opinions into Josh's usual ranting videos, as if the viewers wanted to listen to the ramblings of a blubbering loser rather than a carp-lipped warlock. This would irritate Josh quite a bit. But being the sweetheart that he is, Josh bit his tongue and never brought up this issue with Chris. He would complain about losing his train of thought because of the frequent interruptions, seemingly oblivious to the fact that he is the only person that can put a stop to that nonsense. But all of the gaming, smoking, sleeping, and interrupting would finally amount to Chris landing a real job, eventually, something to get him out of the funk he's in. He got a job at Walmart, which he lost very quickly after he cut his own hand with a box cutter. But, you know, jobs are overrated anyway. But then, there was the situation with the van. Ugh. Now, this van that Chris had is actually pretty significant to the Cobraverse, because not only was Chris living out of that thing for a while, Josh had some smelly, sweaty sex in the back of it with some Casper lot lizard in exchange for a single cigarette. I wish I was joking. There's a possibility that Chris joined in the drunken sloppy fuckfest, and I'm sure it was a revolting experience for all involved. Isn't young love sweet? Anyway, this van would be significant again much later when Chris was crashing with Cobes. You see, it was time for Chris's routine feeding at the Casper trough. But silly old Josh Saunders forgot that Chris needs butter. Not too much of it though, just a single stick, because he's watching his figure. Josh climbs into the love machine and takes it for a cruise to the store. Problem here is that Josh didn't have a license at the time, so there's really no justifiable reason for Josh to be operating any kind of vehicle. While on his way to get Chris some solidified saturated fats, Josh nearly sideswiped a police car. He was subsequently pulled over and received a ticket for driving without a license. Just what Josh needed, another thing to spend money on. It's bad enough that he has a hungry piggy at home that's hogging all the video games and tobacco, but now he has to pay a fine because he tried to feed his barnyard animal of a friend? What a shame.
Well, basically what happened was, we were in laundry, Chris doesn't have a shirt to wear, and he's like, he needs me to go pick up some butter and pay the rent. I'm like, alright, I'll do that. And you know what he does? The dumbass gives me the keys to his van. And I, the bigger dumbass, accept the challenge. Guess what? I don't have a driver's license. Guess what? I almost hit a cop car. Guess what? I got a fucking ticket. Joyous.
This little issue with money must not have meant much to Josh, because shortly after that debacle, Josh dropped $400, which was intended for rent, on a new $500 guitar at Mr. Money Pawn Shop. This obviously wasn't a good move, and Clint was not happy about it. He went to the pawn shop to try and get Josh's money back, but he walked away empty-handed. Josh came out of this fine though. He got a USB piano and a BC Rich Warlock, whatever that is. Chris, throughout all of this, never discouraged his friend from blowing money on frivolous shit. All of this would lead to yet another Clintervention, where Daddy Saunders had to force Josh to kick Chris off his couch and back onto the streets. This is just another thing that Josh should have done on his own without his parents' intervention. But of course his father has to come in and save the day yet again. Josh was once again, as always, humiliated for everyone to see. Despite Josh's profound incompetence, he would always just seem to scrape by, pulled up by the dwindling hairs on his head. No matter how bad things got, no matter how badly Josh would screw something up, the universe, or rather Clint, was always there to pick up the pieces, somehow carrying the weight of Cobes' lips. Josh always had the reassurance that things would always be A-okay. Until they weren't. You see, Josh has this issue where he just can't keep anything clean. It would seem that if he were to touch any sort of cleaning product, it'd take away his magical abilities and possibly kill him. Or at least that's how he'd probably try to write it all off. In actuality, he is just a filthy, lazy man who doesn't care about having healthy living conditions. He just wants to hang out in a dilapidated hellhole with hardened, stained carpets with dust-covered surfaces and battered walls. The real American dream.
Listen up, you two. Being a man, it's not about playing guitar. Now, being a man, it's not about shredding guitar. Being a man, it's not even about smoking a cigar, let me tell you. Huh? What about the beer you drink? It ain't even about that, YouTube. No, being a man, time for you to man up. You want to smell like a rock star? You want to smell like a badass? Get yourself some tactical soap and start smelling like an alpha male. Or a sexy goth stud. Or have an amazing body. Or be super attractive. Or any of that. It don't matter your size. It don't matter what you look like. Dude, it don't matter. Alright, any man can wear this soap. Well, it looks like the pajama bottoms are coming off. I'm doing some laundry, that's why I'm wearing my pajamas. Listen, YouTube. You want to smell like a real man? You want to smell like an alpha? Get some tactical soap. Take very long for that water to heat up.
So yeah, Cobes didn't care about his apartment. Smoking isn't exactly good for places either, not to mention the other nonsense that he got up to in his abode. In 2018, he started a little side hustle by the name of Cobra Craft Wands. This incredible business, which is still thriving today, has produced some of the most exquisite magic wands that $24 can buy. Sturdy, weathered wooden shafts made from the finest sticks in Casper. Yarn wrapping imported to the Cobra Craft headquarters, right from Hobby Lobby. Only the most refined paints are used, Krylon and Rust-Oleum. Yeah, these wands are the fucking shit and you know you want one. But too bad. These babies are a hot commodity and you're probably not even worth half the value. On top of this, there's also the problem with his general understanding of hygiene. It's obvious that Josh just doesn't bathe as regularly as he should. His hair is almost always noticeably greasy. The only way we can ever tell if he actually washed his hair is if we actually see him do it. He'll stand in the shower for about 7 minutes, doing fuck all when it comes to actually cleaning his body. There's also this rumor that he's rubbed bars of tactical soap on his clothes rather than taking them off and bathing properly with the soap. I haven't seen any proper evidence for this, but it honestly wouldn't shock me in the slightest. I've seen how he'll wear the same outfit for days at a time, possibly even a week or two, so needless to say, his habits are ultimately just fucking bizarre. Anyway, I'm rambling now, I'm sorry. Let me get back to the story. Josh was working his ass off on these wands, producing them as best as he could in his domicile. This means that he was using spray paint in his apartment, which most definitely was getting into the ventilation system for his building. And spray paint is, you know, incredibly toxic to breathe in. His neighbors already hated the smell of weed and piss that emanated from his hole, but now they've got to breathe in some green spray paint? It's totally understandable if they complained. Nobody wants to breathe that crap in. And it would appear that they did complain. This all led up to Josh getting a little call from his father on October 27, 2018. Clint had some very unfortunate news for Cobes. After years of living in the same apartment and tearing apart every last inch of it, his dastardly landlord decided that they are not going to renew his lease for the year, thanks to many complaints that were submitted against him. The news was quite shocking to Josh. He bought them an ashtray and this is how they repay him? He's been such a good tenant. He paid his rent, mostly. He took care of the apartment, kind of. He made the place feel homey. Well, actually, that's debatable. He actually just didn't even try. He should have expected this a lot sooner. He just pissed away the cheapest living situation he was ever going to have. Sure, the place looked like a set piece from a college horror film, but it was something that he could afford with the income stream that he had. From my perspective, this is where things start to get really bleak for Joshua. It doesn't stay funny and quirky forever, just really, really sad. And morbidly hilarious for the emotionally detached, much like myself. It's the whole watching a train wreck mindset. It's so damn depressing and sick, but you just can't look away. All of the years of self-neglect and unchecked narcissism, accompanied by the substance abuse and ignorance, is what led Josh here. And it's what'll lead him for the rest of his life.
God damn it!
Before we look into how his story has evolved in recent years, I think it's definitely worth mentioning a series of videos that he's put together regarding food. You see, like all the best creators on YouTube, he's a man of many talents. Not only does he perform incredible vocal covers, create high-quality wands, and use his magic for good, but he also has a knack for the culinary arts. You see, underneath the grime and filth that has coated every surface in his apartment is the perfect place for him to conjure up some of the best-tasting dishes and food hacks you've ever seen. Unfortunately, smell-o-vision isn't a thing yet, but then again, that's probably a good thing given what we're about to see. Are you sure you're ready? Because I doubt you are. Let's start off with something simple, like the fries incident.
Alright, you got all your french fries. And as you can see, that's bubbling. I would just dump these in here, but I don't want the grease to splatter, so your next step is just drop them in there like that. Fuck it. God damn it! Stop! Fuck my life, YouTube. I need salt. Well, you know, that was real fucking smooth of me, too.
Yikes! It would appear that Josh really doesn't have it in him to be a 5-star chef. But hey, we all make mistakes, and Cobes certainly isn't an exclusion to that. Maybe he needs another chance. How about a nice big bowl of macaroni and cheese? Everybody loves that. How could he possibly fuck up something as simple as pasta with cheese?
What is up, YouTube? So check this out. 2 boxes of this mac and cheese. And I went and poured the noodles into a pan. And turned the stove on to 8. And now that we have the noodles going in this hot water, I'm gonna get these noodles nice and soft before we add our next ingredients. Holy crap, he's cooking something else besides a bacon cheeseburger and a pizza? What the hell? Alright, now that we got that stirring up, once that water gets down to a certain level, we're gonna add some more ingredients. We're gonna add some evaporated milk, a whole can of that. Add some more water. Stir in some butter. And then add the cheese powder. And after we add the water, the water and the evaporated milk and the butter and the cheese powder, then we're gonna throw some of this on top. Some of this chicken stuffing mix. Our butter here. We got a stick of butter. We could use some of this. Now that our noodles are cooked and that we've added the butter to it, let's add some other stuff to it. Open it up. This evaporated milk straight in here. There we go. We may end up using the rest of the stick for the whole recipe because this is a pretty big. Alright, so there's half the butter for the mac and cheese and we'll save the other half for the stuffing mix. Now take a look what we have so far. You can see. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and stir this around.
And we're gonna dump it in there. 1 cup of evaporated milk with 1 cup of water and like some butter. There's our cheese powder. Let's go ahead and give this a stir, shall we? I'm gonna take all that cheese powder that we have in here. Alright, so after dumping all the stovetop stuffing mixtures into our pan here, I'll give you a shot of that. Beautiful. Let's add some more ingredients to it, shall we? To this butter, bloop, right on top there, just like that. And throw in a gob of peanut butter. Peanut butter will give it some sweetness, maybe some protein to go with it, you know. Now I'm using a nice creamy peanut butter to mix in there. Like 3, and then I'm going to add a pinch of brown sugar. Here we go. This is a big enough chunk to break it up. Our thing so far. Here's what we got. There's the stuffing mixture, there's the peanut butter, there's the butter, all that cheese. I turned it down to a medium heat so that way we could take and I tried a little bit of my dish before I finished cooking it, and the flavor combination is not bad. And now that we got just enough brown sugar in there to kind of cut the taste of the stuffing with a little bit of sweet, that'll complement that peanut butter and that cheese. Awesome sauce. But take a sprinkle of regular white sugar and throw it in there instead of the salt. I'm gonna have a nice small handful of white sugar and just sprinkle it on top. There we go. Just a little bit of that white sugar on top. We don't need a whole lot. Just a little bit. Mixture of that sugar and brown sugar on top. That is beautiful. Maybe add just a pinch more butter and mix it around. I added some more butter to it. I want to mix that in one more time. One more good solid mix. And then we're going to add some water to it. And I'm going to let it simmer for a couple minutes on that medium heat. Just so all that stuffing gets cooked up. Look at that. Look at that. All the cheese from the mac and cheese, everything just mixed together beautifully. Turn that stove on to medium. And I'll let this simmer on medium heat for a couple minutes, just so that water dissolves a bit.
I should probably apologize for subjecting you to that. I honestly had no idea it was going to get that bad. Now, for modern day Cobes. Things haven't been too kind to Joshua. His new apartment is somehow just as derelict as his first, being dirtied up pretty swiftly through Josh's neglectful lifestyle. The first thing you'll notice about his newer videos is that he is aging hard. His lifestyle of constant drinking and chronically masturbating is likely harming his health in ways that are beyond his comprehension. His appearance is frumpy, to put it lightly. He's clearly bathing less than he was in the early days, and his clothes will stay on his body for days at a time. The stench from his lack of hygiene is probably what's making the paint peel on his walls. Josh is almost never seen sober, let alone not drinking a little alcoholic beverage. His drinks range from typical stuff like room temperature Bud Light to sick drink combos like energy drinks mixed with Bud Light or Mountain Dew. A terrible combination that just somehow doesn't seem to faze him. My theory is that his constant drinking has burned away his taste buds, and now he just consumes horrible mixed drinks and absolutely vile food. No normal human could stomach such atrocities, but then again, Cobes is a Boglim, so there's a big difference there. His excessive alcohol abuse has impacted his social life as he's isolated himself to more losers that kinda do the same thing as him. They sit around, bumming from people, accomplishing nothing, all while spending any money that comes into their hands on liquor and smoke. The two most important things in the world, right? Given the fact that he already drinks when he's completely alone, being surrounded by other people that abuse substances certainly isn't helping his situation. You probably already know, but long-term health risks from alcohol abuse includes but aren't limited to high blood pressure, liver problems, various cancers such as rectal, breast, liver, and throat, memory problems, social issues, like difficulty speaking or slurred speech. A dependence on alcohol can be destructive, and unfortunately the sauce ultimately has hold of Josh's life. But we've already established that Cobes is ruled by his vices. One example from October 2021 shows Josh getting into a drunken squabble with one of his hetero life mates, Warlord Alex. Alex is one of Cobes' best friends, routinely bringing him liquor and plenty of trouble. Surprisingly, Alex is somehow a bigger train wreck than Cobes, with a lengthy criminal history, several children that he does not take care of, hardcore drug and alcohol abuse, and generally just being a damn pest. Anyway, somewhere in a drunken, belligerent haze, Alex got decked right in his big mouth by one of Josh's neighbors. I don't know exactly what was said, but I'm sure he had it coming. Josh didn't want any issues with his neighbors, which is a smart move on his part, and did not get involved other than corralling Alex back into the Cobra lair. Alex proceeded to call Cobes a fake friend, and they eventually had a little tussle. Cobes' loyal fans and followers have pieced together the footage with audio that was leaked from a related Discord server.
Hey dude, wild sight! Fuck off, loser! It came from Matt Green, you piece of shit! Go home, you're drunk!
You're getting sued tomorrow.
Yo,
Okay.
Josh.
Fucking do it, you pussy!
Yo,
Fucker, I will end you, dude.
Josh.
Go home!
Don't do it,
Go
Josh.
home!
You're fucked up.
Yeah, you're fucked up. Go home.
You're fucked up.
Fuck you, dude. Go home.
You've been fucked up since the day you've been deceived.
Yeah, I know I have. Go home.
Fuck you.
Fuck you. Go home.
I'm going home. I'm going to back to my sponsor right now.
Yeah, go ahead. Go home.
Night.
Sponsor.
Hey,
Josh,
Josh.
pick him out before the cops come.
Dude.
His lawyer will be here in the morning.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Fuck you, dickbag.
Fuck you, Alex.
Hey.
Fuck you.
Are you going home to your bridge, Alex?
Yeah, no shit. I'm over his shit. I
Josh,
got
yo.
nothing nice to him. And he's starting fights with my fucking neighbors. I'm over it.
Josh.
It's all good.
Settle down, Josh. Settle down.
He's gone,
His
bro. It's
yelling
all
is
good.
so hot. Oh my god.
He's gone. Just settle down.
Holy shit, for once, Cobes actually impressed me. Normally he's just intoxicated and slurring his speech, but this time he's intoxicated and standing his ground. All things considered, Josh did a good job at diffusing the situation and removing Alex from his apartment. But this wouldn't be the end of their antics, because as of the recording of this video, these two are still friends. Which is a real shame. I was hoping that Cobes would still have a moment of clarity and try to push this guy out of his life for good. But it is what it is. Maybe I'm not hammering in just how bad Josh's drinking problem actually is. Granted, I've spent the last 40-something minutes showing you a handful of the many mishaps in his life. But I feel there's a relatively recent event that properly demonstrates his dwindling grasp on his own life and his firm grip on the bottle. A disastrous livestream that only served to show that Cobes is, without any shadow of a doubt, a drunken man-child. On March 26th of this year, Josh celebrated his 31st birthday. As one can probably expect by now, he spent a large portion of his special day drinking. It's not uncommon to drink on your birthday, but I do think he went just a tad overboard. But, on the upside, we did get to learn about one of his many badass drink combo recipes. A Cobra's Creamy Cake Drink, a mixture of Pinnacle Cake Vodka and A&W Cream Soda, served half and half. I'm sure that there's somebody out there that would agree that it's a good combo, but I don't know, man. Sounds a little too powerful for me. Or maybe I'm just a pussy. Oh well, that isn't what matters. During this stream, Josh found himself drowning in the sauce. One sip after another pour following the last. Nothing too out of the ordinary for him. But Josh was kinda dancing around a pretty big appointment he had for that day. Dinner with dear old dad. Clint had agreed to take his son out to eat for his birthday. The one yearly outing he had with his family, or at least just his father. I believe he was supposed to go to Olive Garden that evening, but I wasn't able to verify what the place actually was. I don't know how many of you have ever been to an Olive Garden, and quite frankly you're not missing jack shit, but the mental image of a sloppy drunken Cobes devouring an endless sea of lasagna and breadsticks is a sight to behold. The outing unfortunately never happened, as Clint had become very aware of Josh's antics at the time. The slurred speech, the stumbling, all of it was happening before Cobes was even ready to raise some hell at the only Olive Garden in Casper. Clint backed out of the ordeal before anything got too messy, obviously citing Josh's drunkenness as his reason for being hesitant. Cobes didn't take this lightly and proceeded to complain on stream for everyone to see. What followed was hours of shit-talking his dad, whining about his life, acting as if he has it harder than anybody else. A life of collecting sticks, eating fast food, drinking, smoking, and jerking off does sound pretty easy to me. Maybe I missed my calling in life. Anyway, let's take a little peek, shall we?
Drink combo is called a Cobra's Creamy Cake Drink. It is Pinnacle Cake vodka mixed with A&W cream soda, half and half. It is fucking delicious. Speaking of getting fucked up. No, fuck me, it's almost 5.
Fucking motherfucker, no! Go fucking crazy! Woo! Sorry, it's the weekend and I'm a little... I'm gonna wrap the stream up, YouTube. We're just doing some drink combos. Ooh, that still burns. I'll catch you ladies. My dad thinks I'm an embarrassment to the family and I drink too much because I'm not gonna sit here and be a puppet for my family and be told this is how you're supposed to act. My freaking dad is intimidated by my YouTube fame. Otherwise, you wouldn't be like, oh my god, you're too drunk. It's the truth, dude. When I was a kid and I started the whole Cobra demon thing, my dad would talk to me like I was a fucking crazy asshole, taking me to psychiatrists, like, oh, he thinks he has demonic powers. And now that I'm a famous YouTuber, my cult went somewhere. You know, my dad's starting to sound like all the assholes in Valley City who are like, I love Josh, but Josh and his Cobras, you know, kiss my ass, dude. If you got a problem with Ozzy Osbourne, you can fucking suck my dick. That's how I say it.
Well, that certainly wasn't a pretty sight. I don't know what else I can say about Josh at this point. Considering everything we've gone over, and the vast amounts of stories that I don't have the time to discuss, I think that Josh's darkest sagas are coming fast. I'm not saying that he's hit rock bottom, but rather he's free falling into it. Every single time he gets trolled or does another stupid thing, we assume that it can't really get much worse, but it always does. He continues to make mistake after mistake regardless of who is trying to help him. He's too stubborn to follow genuine advice given to him from his father and various positive influences in his life. There is no sign that he's ever going to stop partying with the finest from Casper's trailer courts. Considering how much he's drinking, he might as well have a constant IV drip of alcohol plugged right into him. The few teeth he has left are actively rotting away, as if they're trying to escape the wretched depths of his mouth. His organs never get a break, having to tackle the constant stream of deep-fried beer-battered Dorito burgers with mayonnaise, hot sauce, peanut butter, and meat seasoning. By all means, his body is going to fail on him before he knows it. He's over 30 years old and he isn't getting any younger. His prime years have just about ran out and he's only accomplished a steady streak of self-harm. Even though he's capable of taking the chemical beatings now, eventually his luck is going to run out. The end of his story will likely be due to his self-neglect, staggering ineptitude, and his own ego. But before we lose our gothic King Cobra, there will be the inevitable couch bum saga. Within the next few years, Cobes will likely be evicted from his apartment due to his filthy habits and the antics he and his cronies get up to. This will lead to him having to find another place to live, or he'll have to live on somebody's couch for a few years. He'll go from friend to friend, eventually to Clint, which will likely lead Cobes to having to change his ways or become the sexiest bum in Casper. He has nothing bright coming for him unless drastic changes are made. But there won't be any improvements on his end because that would take effort, and genuine effort is something that always seems to escape him. Or perhaps, maybe, he just doesn't give enough of a shit. But hey, dead-end stories are most definitely what's up, Toobs. But that's gonna be it for today's video. If you like what I do, leave a comment, rate, and subscribe. If you want to support me in a more personal way, you can check out the Patreon link and the Teespring link in the description. I've got plenty more content coming down the pipeline. But until then, I'll see you degenerates next time.
up.